Awesome. Well, hello everyone. As you guys begin to trickle in, my name is Bree Hall. I'm the social media chair at Indie Design Week, and we're so glad you're here. We just want to thank you for being a part of Indie Design Week 2025 and the exciting week ahead. Um, Indie Design Week really is just about like bringing our community together and people together across all disciplines to connect, learn, and create. So we're just excited for the week and to explore the theme of hues a bit more. So today's talk will be like really exciting. We're excited to have like Sell Without Selling Out, led by Alex. So like thank you guys for joining us today. I will be here um, to kind of help like moderate things if you guys have questions in the chat. But the only thing I ask is that you guys make sure you're muted as they're presenting. But if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask or like drop those in the chat as well. But we'll go ahead and get things like started. So Alex, I'll pass it off to you.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here. Thanks for taking the time, a little lunch session here. And we're going to cover a few things today, specifically around not selling out, but we can't get away from sales. So let me share my screen here, and then we will jump through these items. Ultimately, we're always selling, and there is a lot of negative connotation around sales, right? The greasy, tricky Ricky down at the used car lot, getting you into something that's not a good product, not a good car, that you didn't really want. We've all experienced that. But if you think about a really positive sales experience that you had, you probably didn't even realize that you were being sold or you were experiencing that because that individual truly helped you figure out what you needed and get the right product, the right trip, the right plan in place, the right home repair, whatever it was. And it was a great experience all around, because we're always selling, and it could not be more applicable to anybody. So whether that's in your job, you're looking for a promotion, more responsibility, more leadership roles, whether that's you're actually selling your services, right? We have a lot of different types of roles and individuals that are a part of Indie Design Week. That's one of the great things about it, is that we can always learn and explore from other facets of design. But because of that, on the call, we have people who are independent, freelancers. We have people who own their own businesses, small businesses. We have people who are working at a corporate setting. We have people that are, working at an agency and servicing clients, and everything in between. So all of these skills and these techniques that we're going to talk about today are applicable to all of us in any role. So some of the specific examples I give, you'll have to kind of work with that. I'll try to give different examples as we go along to different roles that we might be in, but think through what we're trying to apply and how that might apply to you. Obviously, the chat's open. You can ask questions, open the mic when you have one. I'm happy to address that. If you have something specific or want to discuss, I'm happy to make this more of a discussion based as we get through it, because that's how we all learn the best from each other. The things that we're going to talk about today, we're going to set a basis of what is sales, so we all understand what that means. We're going to talk a little bit about how the sales methodology on how we apply it in a manner and in a way that actually works for us. And again, these are truisms that go across all facets of what we do. So I'm saying sales, but really it's just kind of behavioral techniques and attitudes. So we'll get into that a little bit. And then finally, there's really 3 specific techniques that we want to talk about that you can apply daily life and daily conversations. And if you do that, and these 3 things, you really are going to see a lot less stress in your life, because you're going to have very clear expectations on both sides. You're going to have a lot more success, whether that's selling more, whether that's taking on more responsibility and getting better opportunities in your role. And lastly, you're going to see a lot higher client satisfaction, because going into the process, when it's clear and upfront on what we're doing, what each role in this relationship in the sales process or project management process, if it's defined really well, then the outcomes we're all much more pleased with. We're more gratified in what we deliver as the provider, as the person selling something, as the team leader or project manager, and then the client or the prospect or whoever's receiving is very satisfied with it, the whole process, not only the end result, but also the experience along the way. So let's dive into that first. So what is sales? We talked a little bit about it here already, but sales really isn't trying to convince somebody to do something that you want. It's not trying to sell a product to somebody that they don't want just so you can tally it up, or sell a design that they're not happy with, or that doesn't ultimately meet their goals. While you get that paycheck or you get that opportunity that first time, there won't be a repeat. That won't be a positive experience. So that's not true sales. That is a sale, but it's not truly selling. And we're all involved in sales, even selling ourselves to our spouse, to our partners, to our friends. And that needs to be a positive experience to where they understand what they're getting and that you're actually fulfilling needs in their life, and that they in return can give that feedback back to you. So sales really is identifying a pain that somebody has. Pain's a strong word, but you'll understand what I mean. So with pain, if there's not a pain, then there's no sale. An example, we'll just use cars because it's something we've all done at some point, most likely, or will be doing soon. And if I go to a car lot, I'm probably there for a reason. I need a vehicle, right? So that 90% of that is already identified. The minute I walk on the lot, there's a pain. I need a vehicle. Mine's not sufficient. Mine broke down. I got in an accident. I want to level up. I need a vehicle, right? So that's one of the pains. But then you really start to ask questions and understand really what that pain is. Are they wanting to have a nicer car because they need more to take more kids to their school events and sports and activities? Do they need a car because they want to impress somebody, right? Either on the business side or relationship wise. Do they need a car because they want to start traveling and experiencing national parks, and their little Honda Civic isn't going to cut it? They need something a little larger that they can travel in, that they can be secure in. So it's not just the vehicle. Now you're starting to expose what that individual's pain really is. And then the right salesperson comes in, explores that, asks the right questions, and then can help them get into something that they need. So sales is really about identifying pain. And that's important as we go down through this, because as in any process, we really want to identify the end goal and the pains along the way. And if at any point at the beginning of a process, either a project management or a sale process, maybe you're selling your creative services, whatever it is, if we're not understanding what that pain is, why they need something, then we could have a miss from the beginning. And by the end, you could work your tail off in that project management process and in that sales process, deliver them something that is, you've spent way more time in it than you normally would have, and they're still unhappy because we missed that at the beginning on what they were really looking to get from that. So that's when I talk about sales, that's really what we're talking about, is not convincing people to do things. There are shady salespeople out there. We've all experienced them, right? That is out there, but that's not really what we're talking about. What we're really talking about is effective communication and helping other people solve for their pain, what they're trying to accomplish. When we think about all this together, and this again applies to every really aspect of our life, whether that's your personal health and fitness, whether that's relationships at home, whether that's relationships in the office, or in this case, it's selling yourself to expand, to grow, selling more product. If you're a freelancer, if you own a small business, increasing contract size, increasing the velocity of new opportunities that you have coming your way. That all revolves around these three pillars, which is attitudes, techniques, and behaviors, right? So when I do sales training and sales process development, I always talk about there are those three pillars. One of them I can't change. That one's your attitude, right? That is who you are. And that is, you have to wake up in the morning and have that right attitude. Someone else can't change your attitude. That has to be innate within you. Now, if you don't have a great attitude, but you're following the behaviors, you're following the techniques that are required to be successful in whatever your endeavor is, eventually that attitude does seem to turn around. But the best way to manage your attitude is to take a breath, reset yourself. We all know how we do it, and approach it in the right manner. So attitude is on you. You have to figure that one out or let it develop as you go. Behaviors are the things we do every day. If it's, hey, I know that I need to have creative time every day. I need to block off creative time every day because I need to come up with all the concepts, the ideas that make what I do successful, right? That's a behavior. Blocking off that time and doing that. If you're needing to get more opportunities, blocking off time every day, every week, whatever that is for you, to reach out to your community, to your contacts, and we call it prospecting and sales, but networking is another great term for it, right? So those are all behaviors, the things we do every day that produce the results that we want. Techniques is the area that we're going to really focus on today. So those are the actual techniques that we can apply when we're doing the right behaviors with the right attitude that can really start to scale up our success personally, professionally, relationally. The techniques that we apply are really what then 2, 3, 4, 5-fold increase the results that we're getting from the work that we're already doing. Like, we already know these people that we see in business, we see in life. They're very successful. When you look at them and say they're doing the same things I'm doing, right? I'm doing the things that they're doing, and that's modeling. That is fantastic. But how do you really take that then and level that up, and with the same amount of work and effort, get higher results? And that's really where the techniques come in. Same thing in sports and athletics. It's an easy comparison, right? Hey, I go into the batter's box every day. I'm doing my practice and my swings every day. I'm kicking the soccer ball every day, right? But why does the one person hit that goal, hit that ball way more often than others? Because it's the technique. They've developed these techniques over time, so that's just a repetitive behavior. So there's 100 of them. We're going to really focus on the 3 top. And there are so many that can stem out of these 3 techniques. But at the end of the day, these are the 3 that if you can start to apply, you will notice immediate result difference. In this afternoon, if you have a call, you apply a few of these things, you're going to see a difference, impactful difference really quickly. So let's jump into those 3 real quick. So the 3 techniques that we want to cover today, it's called equal business stature, upfront contracts, and defining a clear future. We'll dive into each of these, but it's an equal business stature, upfront contracts, and defining clear futures. Equal business stature. What equal business stature essentially means, and this is a mindset change. It plays in a little bit to attitude, but you don't have to have the perfect attitude to do this because it's a process, right? With equal business stature. Basically, what equal business stature says is that titles, income level, experience, authority, you can name 20 more, they do not matter. At the end of the day, your time is equally as valuable as their time. And if you believe that, and there could be your boss, it could be the project lead that you're working with, it could be a client or a customer of yours, it could be, again, in a personal relationship, whoever they are, at the end of the day, title, income, experience, and authority do not matter when you're approaching them and when you're working with them. You treat them with respect, and in return, you want respect back. That is kind of expected in a humane relationship. That doesn't always happen in the workplace. It doesn't always happen with clients. We've all experienced great clients where that has happened, but more often than not, we experience clients where that doesn't happen. And even more dangerous is when we lose an opportunity, or we don't get a promotion, or We don't make a sale that we thought we were going to make, and it was hidden. We didn't know there was an equal business stature in place. And that's really where this process can help us identify that and pursue it and improve it. So the ways that we can do this, equal business stature, it's all about creating a level of expertise. And if you have the mindset that your time's just as equal as theirs, then all of a sudden the language in your email might start to change. So an example would be if I'm emailing a mid-project and I haven't heard back from somebody yet, and I need to know their feedback on this project so I can do the next step that I'm required to do, or I can move forward with a proposal, or I can move forward with investing more time to go from an outline, a wireframe to an actual product or deliverable. If you reach out and say, hey, hope you're doing well, I'm just checking in to see if you've had a chance to look at this. Let me know when you have a chance. Okay, that's a very nice email, but there are a lot of softeners in there, like the word just, and hey, I'm just checking in. Let me know when you get a chance, right? All those sort of things say, hey, I know your time's valuable. It is being respectful. We always think we're being respectful of them, but what it does is it devalues our time. So a small restructure in that email could be received much differently, right? If think about it, the CEO of Disney and the CEO of Apple are emailing each other. They don't write each other and say, hey, I'm just checking in. Let me know when you have a chance, right? What they're going to say is, hey, I sent this to you last week. Could you provide feedback so we can move forward on this next step? We're waiting on your approval before we can deliver on the timeline we committed, right? So that little shift in how we think about it will help us write those emails in a little bit different way. So email language, how we pursue it there. And then the overall one is going to be asking questions along the way, and especially at the very beginning of the process. Because if we can establish that we have equal business stature at the beginning, then you're going to develop trust. You're going to develop respect for each other. And that's difficult to do in, let's say, the first 10 minutes of a conversation when I'm meeting somebody new, or even more difficult if I've had a history with a client, a prospect, a team member, a superior that I'm working with that hasn't necessarily been that respectful back and forth to make that shift. But by asking questions, we can really dive into developing that trust quickly. So let's talk about a few of those types of questions that we ask along the way. If you were to go into your doctor, you always use this as an example. You walk into your doctor and you say, hey, doc, I'm not feeling well. What's the first thing the doctor does? He doesn't start telling you what the solution is, right? The doctor's going to listen and say, he's not going to tell you that he's got his Harvard diploma on the wall. He's not going to tell you, hey, I cured 76 sick people in the last 2 weeks, right? He doesn't have to validate himself. You're coming in and he's going to start asking you questions. Well, when did you start feeling bad? Well, how are you feeling? And then he goes deeper. Are you feeling bad in the morning? Are you feeling bad in the afternoon? Do you feel bad after you eat? Do you feel bad after you wake up? Right? And he starts investigating that to, again, find that pain, to identify that so he can help provide you with the right solution. So when you're starting out a conversation, you're starting out a project, regardless of who that's with, your job and the quickest way to develop equal business stature is to thank them for their time and start that conversation. And in doing so, you're going to start asking a lot of questions on the project. Many of us already do this in a way that we just want to gather information. In sales, we call this the discovery process. And in design and creative, a lot of time we taught the creative design process, right? Or creative design planning or creative planning early on in a project where you're trying to define these things. But by asking early, who is the audience? What are your expectations of this piece of content, of this article, of this design piece, of this product that you're buying? Then it lets them know immediately, oh, this person understands what I'm doing. by the way, you haven't once told them that you understand their world, tried to validate to them why you understand their world, or try to build some sort of credibility in your experience. Through your questioning, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable that this person understands what I want to receive in the end of this. And many times, what you'll find is they really appreciate it, because by asking these questions, they will expose to you a lot of information that they didn't even think about, right? When you start thinking about what is your goal with this, let's say it's a campaign. What's your goal with this campaign? What are you trying to achieve with this campaign? Asking all those sort of questions along the way. Meanwhile, you haven't given a solution yet. You haven't told them that, hey, I can do this better than anybody else. Because let's be honest, that early in a conversation, you don't know that you can do it better than everybody else, at least to the prospect. But just by asking those questions early on, you're going to develop that equal business stature right into the gate. So it's really your attitude and the way you approach it. Think about your language when you write your email that you would write, ask for their time, ask for a follow-up, but stop, read it and reread it again and say, would a CEO of a company, let's say they own a $500 million company, write this email to somebody else who owns a $500 million company? No, most time it's not. You can edit that and rewrite it, right? And you don't, it's not being mean, it's not being too harsh. We can still be ourselves. I'm a loud, goofy guy. I have fun. I don't take myself seriously at all, but I take my work extremely seriously. So I definitely play into myself and my personality. You should never steer away from that in any of these processes and techniques. But just by changing a few words can have a huge impact to how you're received on emails. And then number two is really asking questions along the way. And we'll give some more examples of asking questions as we go forward. But that's how you really start to develop that equal business stature when you're moving forward. And it's very important to do. You need to believe that, no, I'm not disrespecting the fact that you've been a successful business person, or you're the account manager at this national account that my agency is working on. I'm not disrespecting you. But what I am saying is we all have the exact same amount of time in every day. And I'm trying to provide for my life, my family, to make my peers, my coworkers, my company successful. And my time is equally as valuable as yours. So when I ask for your time, I want that respect back. And I'm just going to ask for that straight out. Next technique is upfront contracts. This is really where we can start to set expectations along the way. Again, they all play on each other, right? By setting upfront contracts plays into building equal business stature, and equal business stature plays into an upfront contract. And as you can probably see clearly here, an upfront contract is simply a question. So before you start any process, you can see you get verbal confirmation and agreements on what happens next before moving forward. It's a very simple statement, but what does that mean? It means before we start a conversation, before we start maybe it's a mid-tier project management mid-tier meeting, you're halfway through your project, it's a check-in meeting, still use an upfront contract, use them frequently and often when you're working with people. And what that does is basically you're going to ask them, say, hey, today we are going to discuss blank. At the end of the conversation, at the end of the meeting, like, use your language here, make this yours. We will do X, Y, and Z. Here's the kick. You have to ask, is that okay with you? Does that work for you? Are you okay with that? Do you agree with that? You have to ask that final question, make that your own, right? And you might have a little bit different scenario, different question at the end for every time. But what that does is, if we sit down, how often have we been in a presentation where we're pitching our idea either internally to a client or prospect? We get to the end of that, they're like, great, that sounds great. Could you send this information over? I'll review this and I'll get back to you. Great, yeah, thanks so much. We think it went really well, and then nothing happens. We don't get follow-up. We don't get feedback from them. More often than not, that's the scenario. Occasionally, you'll have somebody come back right away. Very rare. Usually, that's what we all experience. by setting an upfront contract, then it then provides an expectation for both of you and provides you then the opportunity to follow up, again, equal business stature, to appropriately follow up. So a small change, if let's say I'm doing a design for, let's say it's just a creative one pager that they want to use for a promotion that they're doing for whatever business. Let's say it's a sales slick for a conference that they're having coming up, and they want people to, visit the booth or attend the conference and see what they have to offer. So what I would say is, you're going to set up that meeting, say, hey, today, the way I understand it, you asked me to come here today because you want a sales slick made, one pager, promoting your event that you have coming up, and that asking people to attend that. Your audience is business owners in the greater Indianapolis area, and the event is in 3 weeks. At the end of today, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I want to make sure I have a lot of clarity on exactly what you want so that I can let you know if we can provide that or not. But at the end of this conversation, if we both agree that I might be a good fit for this, and by the way, if I'm not, or if I don't feel like I'm good for this fit, do I have your permission to say no? And I would really like your feedback if you feel like I'm the right person to help with this project. Would that be okay with you? Like, that's upfront contract number one. It's a little awkward to ask the question, but what that says is, hey, we're equals here. If I don't feel like I can deliver the best solution for you, I need permission from you to tell you that I might not be the right person. We might not be the right organization for this. Conversely, if you don't feel that I am, I want to know that as soon as possible so that I can either change what I'm doing to deliver something you want, or get validation that I'm doing good on that moving forward. So you ask that question at the end of this conversation, is it okay if I let you know that I don't think I might not be the right person? And will you be honest with me and let me know if you don't think I'm the right person, or if there's something else different you want with this? Can we agree to that by the end of this session today? They're always going to say yes, 99% of the time. But what you did was, you just set up the expectation at the end of the call that they need to give you that feedback. The second upfront contract, you can use these early and often throughout the process, is great. If we decide to move forward, your events in 3 weeks, if we decide on a process at the end of this, will it be okay if we can both commit to having a decision on this project, let's say by next Friday? Does that work for you? You haven't even defined the project. You haven't even gone into the detail on what that is. You just need to know if you're going to be selected to move forward by a certain date, and they'll tell you, yes, that should be absolutely reasonable. We can do that. Or they'll say, actually, my business partner's out of town. He's not back till the following Tuesday, but we can have a decision by Tuesday because I need a time to sync with him on it or her on it. Great. That works for you. That works for me. We just agreed to that. Think about everything we just know we've set up. You've developed equal business stature just by asking a few questions. You've set the expectations up with an upfront contract on what's going to happen in the immediate and next. And by the way, you haven't even gotten into the actual deliverable yet. That's the next part. Once you have that established, then it's very easy to go into, all right, let's talk about your project. Tell me about what you're looking for and what you guys need. Then you can have that conversation. Again, at the end, make sure on your notes you circle back and say, okay, like I said before, I want to be honest if I don't think we can deliver this, or we might be the best person, but given what you're looking for, I'm very confident that we can deliver exactly what you're looking for, and probably even take it a step further than you're thinking. Do you feel like we're a good fit for you? Right now you're putting them on the spot, but that was expected in the upfront contract. You can do this. Let's say I have another application for this is you're discussing, you're in a team meeting, you work in an office setting, you're at an agency, or you work at a corporate setting and you're just doing an internal project, and everybody sits down to have this conversation, and they open it up. You're not the project lead. Let's just say you're an associate designer or developer, that you're on the team that's there. You can assert yourself in the right way, asking questions and applying upfront contracts. So you could say, as you start off, say, hey, real quick, I just wanted to say, I'm going to listen through all this. Is it okay at the end of this conversation? I'm going to keep my notes. If I ask a few questions for clarity, if I need it at the end, right? We would think that's a no-brainer. You don't have to say that. Of course you can, Alex. You can ask at the end. We want you to contribute. But just by doing that is a professionalism and a courtesy level that probably no one else in that meeting is offering. And if your superiors are there, your peers are there, they're going to immediately start thinking, wow, that person, that individual really took an initiative there. They were very specific on what they want. At the end of that, then do that. Ask your questions. Just want to be clear on the audience. You said millennials. We want to target millennials. Can we talk about that? What age range do you think a millennial is? Do we just want to do male or female millennials? We just want to do, or is there any income level that we want to target there? Is it people of certain interests? Are they only people that are in the design community? Are they athletic? Like, ask a few more clarifying questions. And even if they come back and reiterate that, it's still great to do. Once that meeting is done, then you set your next upfront contract. This ties directly into clear futures. This is more of a concept than it is a specific technique, but you should be able to leave any meeting. You should be able to leave any telephone conversation. You should be able to walk away from any desk side chat with a colleague and know exactly what the clear future is in the next step and expectations back and forth. So an example of that is, I'll use the example from before. You present your design idea. At the end of that, like, this is great. Can you send some information over and I'll get back to you? This is where you want to make sure you define the clear future. So the defining a clear future is setting the expectation for next step. You need to be very specific on what that next step is and get specifics back from the person that you're talking to. Under promise and over deliver. I'll hit on that quickly, and then use an upfront contract to get that commitment. So again, cycling back by making sure you have a clear future, you're implementing equal business stature, because my time's as valuable as your time. And I don't want to be sitting waiting from an email response from you. I want to know exactly when I'm going to get that. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to leverage that upfront contract to make sure we get a commitment on what that clear future is. So at the end of that conversation is like, hi, Jane, for us able to do this, for me to be able to implement my aspect of this project, I need to have your portion of this done, right? Is it okay to expect to have that back from you like Monday or Tuesday? What is a good time for you to get that back to me so I can manage my time appropriately, right? Then they're going to say whatever they're going to say. Actually, I can have that to you on Thursday. Great. Is it okay if I reach out Friday morning if I haven't seen that from you yet? So now we went from, oh, I got to get this done. I'm going to do this for you. And a real quick clarifying question is, so I can manage my time appropriately because I have some other projects running and I want to make sure I can get my stuff done quickly back on this project. When can I expect that back from you? So that's an internal scenario. From a prospect or a selling scenario with a client from an agency side, or maybe it's a client, your freelance design is, hey, Mr. Client, I'm going to send this to you. You should have it by Tuesday morning. But it's the final draft unless you have any edits. We have time for one more round of edits. And I'm going to send this to you. Would it be reasonable for me to expect to have feedback from you by Friday morning? And just let them answer that, right? It's like, they're going to tell you, yes, I can have feedback to you by Friday morning, or they'll tell you, I'm actually out of the office for a personal event Thursday and Friday, but by Monday afternoon, I can have that over to you. You say, great, thank you. That helps me manage my time. On Monday afternoon, or at the end of business on Monday, is it okay if I reach out to you to get that feedback from you if I haven't heard from you yet on that? Again, you're using an upfront contract. Is it okay if I, getting them to say yes, and then developing equal business stature. My time is as valuable as your time. Don't leave me hanging. And when someone commits to that, it's probably, in my experience, an 80% increase in people honoring that. Because even if they can't, they now feel obligated because people's word is their honor, right? That's how they build trust. People are very proud of themselves on that. They don't want to treat people poorly intentionally. So if they told you I was going to do something by Tuesday afternoon, they didn't. Many times they'll actually reach out in advance and say, hey, I know I told you I was going to have this afternoon. A couple things came up, but I'll have it to you by the end of business tomorrow. So they'll start actually communicating with you in advance of, but if they don't, you also have that right now to reach out and to say, hey, just wanted to check in on this. Hadn't heard from you this afternoon. Can we set up a time in the morning to get your feedback on this project? So that's the clear future. Under promise and over deliver. Here are some tricks with this. We all always say that, but then the question is, how do we do that? So a lot of times people will ask you, they'll say, especially on the design side, when can I have that by? Right? It's maybe it's a superior or it's a colleague at work. It's like, when can I have that? Client says, when can I have that? Right? And always buffer your time. You might be able to do it if you put everything else off by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. But why not say one extra day and then deliver it by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? It only puts you in a great position. The same thing when you're setting that upfront contract with them is if someone says, hey, I need this ASAP, that is super unvague. ASAP to me is very different than ASAP to you, or I need it immediately. Or in a lot of times they'll say, you might ask, ASAP, when exactly do you need it? And they say, as soon as possible. Then your response could be, so it's all about that language, equal business stature. Then you just ask the question, is it okay if I deliver this to you Thursday morning by 9 a.m.? Right? They'll say, yes, that's great. My presentation's on Friday, or the client needs it Friday morning. That gives you time for an edit or two if you need to. But by setting that up and asking the question, and defining that time, now all of a sudden we start thinking about our stress levels. It went from ASAP as soon as possible. Now you're putting off some of your other clients or projects that you're working on. You're stressed about it. Should I take a lunch or should I work through lunch? Because Susie said she needed it ASAP. Just by adding one level of clarity says, my time is important. I know your project's super important as well. I want to make sure that I can help you and deliver that in the time that's needed. Let's define that and let's get that clear future in place. Now you know how to manage your time. They have the right expectations, and always build in that under promise and over deliver. By doing these techniques, approaching it with the right attitude, doing the behaviors, right? Behaviors meaning you're going through the processes, you're applying the techniques, and then working on those techniques. Like, it's not perfect out of the gate. Your emails aren't perfect out of the gate, your responses. But now that you're aware of these three things, setting that clear future, using upfront contracts, and setting equal business stature, if a project doesn't go the way you want, if a deliverable doesn't go the way you want, a sales process, maybe a promotional and an interview process. By the way, these techniques work phenomenal in interviews with new clients, if you're bringing on new business, or personally, if you're looking to get a new job, if you're looking to get a promotion. Ask the questions, set clear futures, and equal business stature will set you apart from every other person that they're looking at and in the process. I guarantee that. But if you apply all these things and improve them every day, you'll start to realize, like, why do I feel so stressed, or why am I rushed to get this? And I realize I didn't ask. I didn't set the upfront contract, and I do not have a clear future on this. If you find yourself in that position, which even I do that now, just stop and reach back out and say, Tommy, Susie, whatever. Just want to clarify here. Is it okay if I had this to you by Tuesday? Or I didn't ask when you can get feedback back to me. Would you be able to give me feedback next Tuesday? Or when would you be able to give me feedback? And is it okay if I follow up if I don't hear from you at that time? So it's never a bad time to kind of auto-correct that. along the process and along the way. But as you keep doing that and you're aware of it, you'll start to improve and kind of self-edit, and you'll start to see the improvement in your stress, your happiness in what you're doing, your feeling of equal business stature among your peers, among your clients, among your superiors. And most importantly, you'll really start to see it in the client and the customer satisfaction of the people that you're working for and producing your deliverables for. That's a little bit of the wrap today. I'm going to bounce over and ask questions. I was sharing my screen, so I wasn't able to read through those. Looks like there's a couple here, but covered most of these. With that, I really appreciate everybody. I'll open it up for a minute or two for questions. And if you want to unmute and do that, I'm available. If you want to Slack a chat, I think also my information be available. If there's something that you're working on, I love talking through process, sales, interview process, just applying some of these things. If you have a very specific use case or something that you're approaching or having a difficulty with, I'd be more than happy to chat back and forth and supply as much support for that as I can. So really appreciate everybody. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And that's a wrap for the session. Thank you everyone for joining us. The session will also be recorded or available on demand in the attendee portal within 12 hours if you guys are wanting to check it out there. So just let us know if you have any questions. And again, reach out to Alex with any questions as well.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.